And, Governor, people say, well, the rain stopped. We're out of the woods. You know that's not true.
No, in fact, the most difficult days are really ahead on a few fronts. First, this water is going to continue to rise, and you could have reservoirs that have to release water, dams that have to release water, and that will flood other areas that are not flooded right now.
That's a tough decision, isn't it?
It's a tough decision, but it's almost no decision in the end because you've got to decide to release the pressure off of that, and if you don't, you're going to have a catastrophe someplace else. So it's picking your poison at this point. And now becomes the really hard part of how do you return normalcy to people's lives. And when we were doing the recovery to Sandy, I said 4 priorities first. Get our roads opened,
right,
get power back on, get gasoline available for generators and for cars, and get kids back in school. If you do those 4 things as quickly as possible, people feel at least a little more normal as the recovery continues.
You know, when I'm looking at those images, 2 things come to mind. How defeated they must feel because they set up shelters, and now the shelters are flooding. And then also the response. Did you deal with this? Because I know Sandy hit New York as well as New Jersey. Did you deal with, like, the responders first going to Texas, and they're all there, and they're helping? Are they going to be so exhausted, they're not going to have as much help in Louisiana?
Well, you're going to have to, what you're going to have to do is make the net a lot wider. So, for instance, we've already sent state police, swift boats, search and rescue to Houston. We've sent, helicopters from Blackhawks, from our National Guard, who have, experience from Sandy in getting people, hoisting people up out of bad situations. But we're ready to send thousands of National Guards men and women from New Jersey who have this experience when Texas or Louisiana asks. When they do, our folks are ready to go.
So nice.
Governor, the phase after the rescue is the recovery, and a lot of that includes federal aid. There was some controversy around how long it took for the bill to be delivered in Sandy. Do you expect it to be different in Texas in light of the priority this president has put on it?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I really do.
What can they learn from you?
What they can learn is don't wait 66 days to deliver aid to people who are suffering and dying. And don't play politics with this. Don't connect it to anything else. This idea of connecting it to offsets or connecting it to other things. Or the debt ceiling. Do not do it. Because what will happen is then politics will infect this. And you look at what you saw on the screen this morning. There's nothing Republican or Democrat about the water that's in that Port Arthur Recovery Center.
So in order to get money, Congress has to pass a bill for Harvey.
Yep, they do. And they should do it quickly. The fact is that we know after Katrina and Sandy, we know the parameters of the kind of aid that will be necessary and how it will be used. We came up with a lot of new programs to be able to help people, businesses, and families recover. Think about this. The recovery time for Sandy has been half the amount of time it took for Katrina. We learned a lot from the mistakes of Katrina, and they can learn from some of the mistakes we made in Sandy and make this even better and quicker for the people of Texas and Louisiana.
You talk about better and quicker. This President of the United States says, I want to get there as quick as I can. He did. He's there. He's going back Saturday. As a leader, a lot of it's symbolic, but he evidently, even by his biggest critics, Glenn Thrush today writes that the word is he has never been as entrenched in an issue and a project, and in this case, a recovery and rescue, like this.
So this plays to the president's strengths. This is a president who knows how to take a discrete project and get it finished. And he knows that the way to get that done as the leader is to put a lot of focus on it. And I think some of this criticism he's been getting is absolutely absurd.
What do you mean? You're talking about they say he mentioned the rescue?
Well, first they said he went too early, right? He went too early, which is ridiculous. Remember, Barack Obama came 2 days after Sandy. So if you're going to hold this president to that standard, you should have criticized Barack Obama. I don't think that would have been appropriate. Secondly, though, now they're saying, well, he didn't go near any place where there was water. He didn't see any victims. If he had gone, they would have said he's taking away from the recovery efforts. In this situation right now with some members of the media, this president can't win. It's not fair. He and the First Lady went, and that, I'm telling you, will mean a lot to the victims that are gone, just to know they're in the state and coordinating. The president deserves great credit for what he's done here.
Absolutely. Well, the 36 senators actually voted against the 2013 Sandy bill. They said it was loaded with pork. They said we need offsets of spending. Do you anticipate those? I mean, was there pork, and do you anticipate that that'll be a problem this time?
Listen, it was completely ridiculous. Senator Cruz's, accusation that 2/3 of the Sandy bill was pork is absolutely ridiculous. Washington Post did a fact check on it yesterday that is consistent with what I remember at the time. There was a Senate bill that had some of that, and it all got stripped out, because all of us, including the people in New Jersey, objected to it. They were playing politics with it, okay? They were all getting ready to do what they wanted to do for 2016 and make themselves seem like the most conservative person. The fact of the matter is there's not a liberal conservative way to deal with people who are drowning and dying. We need to get aid to them. That's what the federal government is there for, and I hope they don't wait. Remember, in Hurricane Andrew, they acted after 10 days. In Hurricane Katrina, they have to after 6 days.
It passed the bill, you're saying,
right.
10 days.
Sandy, 66 days. Unacceptable. And I don't think that Texas and Louisiana should be treated the same way. And I'm urging the members of Congress in New Jersey, don't hold a grudge. Let's go forward. Let's vote yes.
And by the way, Senator Schumer brought that up yesterday. He's like, listen, you gave New York a hard time. We're not going to give Texas a hard time. But real quick, when it comes to this, so let's say we're lucky enough and the death toll stays around between 18 and 30, which we're looking at right now. Then these people look around and say, I'm in a gym. I have no clothes. My car is destroyed. They won't let me back to my house. My kids really belong in school. How do you answer 30,000 minimum people who are asking that question over and over again and not get their anger directed at you, even though you can understand it?
Well, you have to be prepared. I mean, we were prepared for Sandy.
To write checks to people, to put them in hotels.
Well, that's where the federal government has to come in and help, because no state can do this on their own. The federal government has to help and do that. But the other thing is, you've got to be prepared with a plan that says, okay, once the water recedes, once it's safe, we're going to get you to places where your family can function. Long-term staying hotels, other housing.
So they got to be cutting deals with different companies that might have, they might have some hotels that are stocked with pots and pans.
I'm confident that Texas had those things in place beforehand. We did. Because if you're on a coastal area, you better be ready for this. And if you watch Katrina and Sandy happen and you're not ready for that now, then that's a failure of leadership. I'm confident that Governor Abbott had those things in place.
And they have a disaster relief fund, upwards of, I think, multiple billions of dollars.
Yes, and that's always there in Congress. You're going to have to do more because, remember, we're still in hurricane season. We don't know what can happen between now and the beginning of November. Remember, Hurricane Sandy came on October 29th. It'll be 5 years ago, this October 29th.
What about, as far as money is, I saw all these celebrities. Kris Jenner and her girls have given a lot of money, $500,000 to Salvation Army and the Red Cross. Should we give to those organizations, or is there a pot where we can make sure the families get it? The organizations are important, but I'd love to give to the families.
Well, I know, listen, when we did it, my wife, Mary Pat, set up the Hurricane Sandy Relief Fund. She raised $40 million. And 97% of that money went directly to the victims. I understand the mayor of Houston has now set up a relief fund for Houston. Those are the kind of places where I think the money is going to get directly to the folks and not to an organization that does good work. But as you said, you wanted to get to the families.
If you don't mind, tap into that blunt speaking Governor Christie real quick. Sure. You've seen what happened over the last 7 months between the president, Congress, his own party, let alone the Democrats, investigations, and seemingly personal animus towards his election. This is an opportunity to reset. This tragedy, you could help these people of Texas and Louisiana while reaching across the aisle. What advice would you give the president, and I know you talk to him regularly and he listens to you, and the rest of Congress, to maybe using this as an opportunity to get out of this ridiculous war they're in that's making the American people pay the price?
In a moment like this, there's nothing like presidential leadership. No member of Congress can do what the President of the United States can do in reaching out to both parties to be able to say, this is a national crisis. We as a country need to pull together for fellow citizens who are suffering and to lower the rhetoric. The president needs to do that, and so do members of Congress.
So are you saying starting tonight, where he talks about the victims but then talks about tax reform, goes back on Saturday and goes and sees it again, how do you weave that into a political agenda?
The president can walk and chew gum at the same time. I've known it for 15 years.
No, I know that, but how do you reset things? Because right now we're not going to get anything done. Mitch McConnell and the president yelling at each other. Paul Ryan's condemning comments.
Well, what you do is you can multitask, and the president has to do that. But the way to use this crisis as a national opportunity to bring people together is to be the president of the United States who stands up and says, regardless of politics, regardless of party, I'm here to help the victims, and you all should follow me. And if they do that, that can help to smooth that relationship for tax reform, for infrastructure, and some other things we need to get done.
All right, Governor, thank you so much.
Governor.
I'm sure you'll be talking to
Thank you all. Great new studio. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome.
I made you walk up the stairs.
That's okay, baby. It's all right. I'm feeling good.
You look good.
Come back anytime. Thank you.